Joined now by William Byron, who is literally all over the place right now in terms of the news because he is the best iRacing driver out there. He's the favorite out in Vegas. How you feeling?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on. I think that it's a unique time for everyone, but I'm fortunate with this, with the way that NASCAR is structured, that we have this esports to kind of get us through and give us something to really just to do and compete with. So I'm excited about that, but also at the same time just ready to get back racing whenever we can safely. So looking forward to that as well.
How are you handling quarantine overall? Like, I know you have the iRacing, but like, have you left your house? What's going on?
Yeah, I've tried to honestly just take some walks every day. I live in an apartment in Charlotte, so I'm kind of locked down in that area. There's not really anything open at my apartment, so really just trying to get outside and walk around to some places. I try to just keep things fresh. Honestly, it's not been too bad. It's just a matter of trying to keep things. I guess keep a variety of things to do, but definitely a lot different. But also thinking about all the people that are kind of working on the front lines and doing the important things right now.
Yeah, my fiance is a nurse, and just seeing her come home each night, it's something to really to focus in on. She gets the applause when she walks out of work. It's an awesome thing, and all the people out there, the first responders and healthcare, you gotta really tip your hat to them. But really, one more thing. You mentioned that you're trying to stay fresh, you stay home, you take walks. I noticed like 2 weeks ago, I was going to wait till the end to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you it now. Noticed a couple of weeks ago, you're walking up before one of the races, and you're like, yeah, I just picked up some pancakes. I'm getting ready to do a race. Did you pick up pancakes from a store?
So I don't know how the breakfast reviews kind of took off, but basically, when the first week started with this iRacing thing, the Pro Invitational that we were running, I think we ran at Homestead, and honestly, I just went to, the Pancake House, which is near me, and picked up some pancakes and took them back to my apartment, and that was kind of, wanted to show everybody what I was doing to prepare for the race, and that kind of took on its own meaning. Now I have a breakfast review every week, and I've last week when I got the win, it was a breakfast sandwich. I believe it was from Eggs Up Grill. So I guess that did the job. So I might have to go back to that or something similar. Not sure yet. It's kind of a game time decision.
I gotta tell you, dude, pancakes are the easiest thing on the planet to make. You don't have to walk to go get it. I feel like in quarantine, like if you need something to do,
that's true.
Make some pancakes. Are you a syrup guy or no syrup?
I'm a syrup guy. I'm not the best cook, so making pancakes is a little bit out of my. I'm kind of a mac and cheese and pizza guy, so making pancakes might be a little complicated for me.
Yeah, I got you. All right, let's get into some racing a little bit. We've heard your story from Mike Joy on Fox. Does a really good job always telling us, how you came up through the iRacing community and then jumped into NASCAR, kind of got your start. I just want to hear it from you. Can you just give us maybe like a Spark Notes abbreviated version of your iRacing history?
Yeah, so I started iRacing when I was 13 years old, I believe. It was 2012, and really what got me started was I grew up watching a lot of racing. Dale Jr. had been a big advocate for iRacing, so really that was my connection to try to get in on the driving side. My family wasn't involved in racing whatsoever. So honestly, I just took it upon myself to kind of use iRacing as a platform for me to learn more about the sport, and eventually that led to realizing that I was a pretty good driver on there. So I kind of used that to try to improve. And then eventually that, led to getting in a real car for the first time. I built up, the confidence to go talk to people. And a lot of people didn't really understand, what iRacing was at the time, but it did lead to, once I got into a real car and people realized the ability I had, it did translate over. So, really just started with watching an interview that Dale Jr. did and figuring that this is a good avenue to try to race in.
you're literally living the American dream of all the kids that are NASCAR fans out there saying, like, I can go pick up iRacing and then somehow get to a track, get into a car, and do this actual thing. Like, thinking about the whole situation from someone who lived it firsthand, how different was it for you when you first got into an actual car as opposed to the simulator?
Well, it was much different. I mean, I think that the biggest thing was the fear factor that you have when you're actually going, 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. I think that car went like 100 miles an hour that I first got in. And I was on a short track, and just the sense of speed was just incredible. I mean, that was really what was like the moment for me. I was like, wow, this is definitely something I could be doing. So it was fun. There was also some tough parts too, because I didn't really know how to use a clutch, and I wasn't very good at that. So I really had to learn those things. But at the same time, I knew how much fun it was, and kind of everything clicked pretty naturally.
That's awesome for you, man. I mean, obviously it has, because you came up through the ranks. Now you're in the 24 car. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But you mentioned the transition from iRacing to actual racing, and now that this has become our norm, probably for the foreseeable future, you're seeing the older guys like Kurt and Kyle, even Bobby Labonte, training themselves to drive the iRacing simulators. What do you think it's been like for them to adjust from what they know to what you've been doing since you were 13?
Yeah, I think there's a big adjustment period that it takes. I'm sure I can't really relate to those guys just because I've never been in that situation of trying to learn it for the first time, especially with having the real world knowledge and kind of the feel of the car first off before this. But the biggest thing is, you don't have as many senses on iRacing. Your visual sense is really critical, and it's kind of everything. You have a little bit of feel throughout the steering wheel, which definitely it definitely helps, and feel throughout your feet. But without those, it's really just sense of feel, and your vision. And there's really no sense of smell or noise. There's really none of that. So I think the fact that there's less senses probably makes it difficult. But those guys are doing a great job. Kyle Busch has done a great job really adapting pretty soon. So it's cool to see.
I think, like you, he's a very natural driver behind the wheel, and it's been fun to see everyone adjust and get on there. Like I said, like watching it on Sundays has been like the best part of my week so far through this quarantine. But it kind of just feels like eventually, is this going to get old? Are we just going to say, like, when's NASCAR coming back? How long do you think this really gets sustained? And do you think it's going to grow and be something that happens when NASCAR comes back? Or do you think people are just kind of getting a fill right now, and they're going to start clamoring for the cars back on the track?
Well, I think that it brings more attention to iRacing and what it's all about, and some of the great drivers that are on there, will get more press because of this time. I do think, eventually we're going to have to get back to reality of racing cars. And that's really where this, iRacing is a simulation. It's supposed to simulate the real world. It's not supposed to be the real car. So I think that both can work side by side and interchangeably in the future, which is what I'd love to see, because I think that there's a true ability to have that platform to find talent, and also to just grow the sport and try new ideas. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I think that ultimately we'll have to get back to the real racing. But I do love where iRacing is. I think there's, honestly, for somebody like me, I use it to try to experiment new cars that I would maybe want to race at some point in my career. That's the cool part for me, is getting a chance to drive a sprint car or a road course car, as well as the Cup car.
Yeah, we saw Dale Jr. jump in the Indy car, and we saw you in the World of Outlaws car. And when I think of World of Outlaws, it naturally brings me to one driver in particular, and that's Kyle Larson. Given everything that happened, this past week, have you gotten a chance to talk to him at all?
No, unfortunately, I haven't. But I think it's a tough situation for everyone. But hopefully the right things can happen there. And I don't really know what to say about it, but definitely a tough situation for everyone involved.
As a driver, is there anything you can take away from it, just like a learning experience? Obviously he's going to have to go through a lot in terms of sensitivity training and getting his career back on track, doing all the right things. But for you as a driver, similar in age group, is there something you can take away from that?
Yeah, I think that really I just, I think because I've been on the iRacing platform, I understand how the chats work, and I understand how that works. I think in this situation, it wasn't specific to iRacing. I don't think it's anything that was different involving iRacing in this situation. But I do think that there's, you have to understand, that your words are powerful, and I think that's really all that I gather from it.
You think about NASCAR and all the steps that they've made. The Drive for Diversity program, and Kyle Larson was a part of that program. They've been trying to get rid of this negative stigma that has been following them for years, and it kind of just feels like with this, they go back to phase zero, especially when there's no sport to talk about. So this is the driving conversation everywhere. What do you think NASCAR does going forward to just recover from this?
Well, I think NASCAR does a great job with really all their efforts, but I think we have a very diverse sport in terms of the people working within the sport, and so I think that they're in a good position, and this one moment doesn't define that. That was an individual act and not an overall view of the sport. So I'm proud to be a part of the sport of NASCAR, and hopefully we can move forward from this and really just looking forward to the future.
Yeah, and the future hopefully means cars on the track. When do you think that happens? You're more in touch with drivers and personnel than I am. I'm a journalist, so I'm talking to people left and right. Like, when are we getting back? Do you think they're going to run a full season, realistically?
I hope so. I mean, I think there's going to be lots of races that are midweek, and there's going to be kind of an overall just a lot of races going on in a short period of time. So I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out, to be honest. But I know right now we're just kind of waiting to see when we do go back. But it's definitely going to be, there's going to be a lot of things going on once we do go back. I think it's going to be hot and heavy with a lot of different racetracks.
So how do you feel about that? If you had like a midweek race, right? You say the schedule turned out like this. You had a Wednesday race wherever, and then on Saturday, Sunday, you're running a doubleheader. Like, what is that like for you in terms of your schedule and making those kinds of transitions?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a huge transition going back into the season. I think that it's going to be a totally different. We kind of started the season and we really had this rhythm going, and now we have to stop, and when we go back, it's going to be a completely different feeling for sure.
Do you think that helps or hurts drivers like yourself?
I feel like it helps, just because it kind of gives you a chance to reset and look at things from a larger perspective. I think it definitely. I think it kind of gives everyone a refresher. Some of the guys that were really doing well early in the season, maybe it stops their momentum a little bit, which they probably don't like. But I think for everyone else, it kind of gives you a chance to reset and refocus and try to get things on the right track.
I think either way, when we get back on the track, a lot of people are going to be expecting big things out of you. You're in that 24 car, and we talked a couple of years ago when you first took over the ride. Like you were just saying, just to be in Jeff Gordon's car, the experience, the amount of pressure that's on you, having some time to let that marinate. What has it been like just being in the historic 24 car?
Well, it's been really cool. I think that especially the variety of paint schemes and notoriety around what we've been able to do. I think it's been really cool to see, and I think that that's been the biggest thing that I've noticed, is that there's been a lot of neat promotions that I've been able to do, and a lot of just cool connections that I've been able to draw because of the 24 car. So I've been thankful for that, and hopefully we can continue to get more on-track success with the car and ultimately get some wins like Jeff did. He's actually the only person that's won in the 24 car, so hopefully we can change that here soon.
Yeah, Elliott had a few second place finishes in that 24 car. I remember it was like him trying to get that first win was a little crazy, and I'm sure you're feeling similar too, where you're just trying to get that first win in the 24. Yeah, a guy who's won a lot for Hendrick Motorsports, Jimmy Johnson, and I'm sure you've had a really strong opportunity to learn from him, being in the same garages and whatnot. For this whole experience, the quarantine, the coronavirus, as someone who's trying to ride off into the sunset and have that dream last season, do you get a sense? How do you feel about Jimmy's whole situation here with this season being as it is?
Well, it's tough. A tough situation for him, being his last year. But I think that Jimmy's doing a great job, just kind of, still staying involved in the iRacing. I've been really impressed that he's picked that up and actually given that a go. I think that his last season's going really well so far. I think he's in the top 5 in points, and I'm sure he's ready to get back racing like we all are. And I've always been a big Jimmy Johnson fan, so I'm excited to see how his last year plays out in NASCAR and see what he can accomplish.
You said you were a Jimmy Johnson fan. You drive the 24. Dale Jr. inspired you to get into iRacing. Who was your favorite driver growing up?
Jimmy was, actually. So
nice.
He was definitely my favorite driver. I actually posted a photo on Instagram last week, I think it was, of me at a race with the Jimmy Johnson hat on. And he was definitely, I would always listen to the radio of he and Chad, and that was definitely who I aspired to be.
Yeah, he was him in his prime was something else, man. We were witnessing history as that was all going on. And it's kind of funny just to see the role reversed in a way, and put him on the iRacing simulator in the first race that he was in. He stalled out in the middle of the track and all the cars were going around him like it was an episode of South Park. It was one of the funniest things I'd seen. Like I was cracking up. The guy's live streaming and he's like, "Oh, shucks," And then meanwhile you're the favorite for the race at Richmond on Sunday. We going to get a win at plus 300 here?
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know if that's if I were a betting man, I don't know if I don't know if you win much off that, but it's no. I hope that we do. I think we've got a really good shot. I've won some of the practice races leading up this week to it. I've been kind of distracted because I've been running the sprint cars a lot, but really just enjoying it. I enjoy doing all the various different races, and really definitely the focus on Sundays, the Cup race. We've got a really cool Exalta paint scheme that we're going to run, and just looking forward to seeing how it goes. I think if we can keep ourselves up towards the front, we can have a really good opportunity. So definitely excited for it.
All right, so let's gauge this, simplify it for the bettors. People who want to bet on William Byron, is your confidence level, scale it from 1 to 10? How do you feel that you're going to win the race on Sunday?
Oh, I'd say I'm saying about a 7.
Oh, let's go.
There's about 3 numbers, that I maybe can't control my own destiny, just if a crash happens or something. But hopefully, if we put ourselves in position with 10 laps to go, I think we'll be able to close it out.
You're giving me plus 300 and a driver that says that he feels 7 out of 10 that he's going to win the race. I'll take it. But Billy B, William Byron, I just appreciate you coming on, man. I know there's a lot going on, but at the same time, nothing going on. So I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.